Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we are going to discuss another topic in the series of food preservation, and the topic that we are going to discuss is food preservation by a freezing method. Okay, food preservation is simply means that the extend the shelf life of the food product. Extend the shelf life of the food products. And how we extend these shelf life? Simply we have to uh, eliminate the eliminate or kill the microorganism, and along with it we have to reduce the chemical and enzymatic reaction, because these chemical and enzymatic reaction can also affect the quality of the food product. Here the extent of shelf life simply means that we have to um, control the quality of the food product, control the quality of the food product. Along with the quality, you have also control the aroma, taste, flavor, and color of the food product. There should be control. Okay, so in freezing, what we have to do in freezing method, we put the food product at low temperature. Low temperature means that around -18 to -22 degrees Celsius. In that temperature, the microorganism undergo the sleeping condition, and does not increase their number, does not increase their number. Okay, due to which the food become a good quality. But when you unfroze these food product, okay, freezing food product, what we have to do when we have to use the freezing food product, so we have to thaw it. Okay, once you thaw a food product, you cannot again freeze it. Thawing is simply means that we have to remove the crystal, we have to remove the ice crystal of the food product. Okay, so we have to like convert the food product from the freezing state to the normal state. Okay, but once a food product is thawed, we cannot freeze it again, because at that time the microbial attack occur, and due to that microbial occur, maybe the microorganisms, maybe the food quality of the food product deteriorate. So these two things is very important. The first one is your, if you have to if you have to preserve the food product by the freezing method, so you have to put your food product below -18 degrees Celsius, and once you thaw it, you cannot again freeze it, you have to use it completely. So this is a basic of the food preservation by the freezing method. Now let's start our lecture. Food preservation, introduction of the food preservation. So food preservation is simply means that extend the shelf life and maintain the safety. That I already told you. Food preservation only not only means that we have to extend the shelf life, but along with it we also have to maintain its safety, means that when a consumer consume that food product, at that time the food should be safe. Like in case of canning, sometimes the improper processing, the microbial growth occur in a canned product. Microbial growth occur in a food products. Basically products, canned food products. Okay. At that time, the shelf life is remain like it is not expired. But due to that microbial growth, the food are unfit for the consumption. So in food preservation, we if we have maintained that shelf life, if we extend the shelf life, but along with it we have also maintained the safety of the food product, which is very important. Freezing is one of the most widely used method globally. So these are the most widely method which is used in a globally. It retains the nutritional property of the food product, flavor, texture, and better than many method. In this method, we are not using any heat, due to which the nutritional value or loss. Okay, its flavor are maintained, its texture are maintained. When you thaw that food product, then that food product transfer into their original state. So it retain both like nutrition property, flavor, and texture. Now come to the next slide. Definition of the freezing in food preservation. Now, lowering the temperature of the food product below its freezing point. Below its freezing points means that suppose that if some food product have a minus 14 degree Celsius freezing point. Now what we have to do, we have to keep that food product below the minus 18 degrees Celsius. That's why this range are given, that we have to keep that food product in between minus 18 to minus 20 degrees Celsius, so that the ice will form. Okay, when we put our food product below that freezing temperature, then the water content present into that food product converted into the ice. Now there is no availability of the water. Now freezing is what they do, they unavailable the free water content, unavailable. Now there is an like in freezing, unavailable the free water content. Due to this unavailability, the microorganisms cannot grow. And when the microorganisms cannot grow, the shelf life are extended. It reduces the microbial activity and slow down the chemical changes. When the microbial activity are reduces, then at that time the chemical changes which occur in a food product due to that microorganism or in by some other reason, that also slow down. So this is the definition of the freezing in food preservation. Now, next is history of the freezing preservation. So it can begin with a natural ice and cold storage, like in past in history, you can say that in around 18th or 17th century, that it can begin with the help of the ice and cold storage. What they do, in an ancient time, people keep their food under the natural ice, or sometimes they keep that food in cold storage. Now, Clarence Bertesi, they develop a method that is called a quick freezing method, and this method can be developed in 1920s. Okay, this phase is what? This phase is known as a revolutionized phase for the frozen food product in our food industry. Quick freezing means that we keep the food products individually under the low temperature. Low temperature here means that below the freezing point. So this is a history of the food preservation. Why freezing? Why freezing preserve the food product? What is the reason behind it? See, we all know that in freezing, what we have to do, we unavailable the free water, unavailable the free water. because these free water which are present into the food product, when we keep it below the freezing point, then this free water is converted into the ice. Okay, this free water converted into the ice. Now if the water is not present, obviously the microorganisms cannot be grow, because for the growth of the microorganisms these factors are required, like food, acidity, temperature, time, oxygen, and moisture. Now if we unavailable any one of the any one of from these factor, then it cannot be grow. So in freezing what we have to do, we unavailable the moisture content present into the food product, due to which the microbes cannot be grow. Now these microbes become dormant at very low temperature. Okay, suppose that this is your food product. Now in this food product they have 13 microorganisms are present. Now it can remain 13, not less than 13, not more than 13. It will remain 13 when we keep that food product at particularly room at particularly low temperature. Enzymic activity also slowed down drastically, and water unavailability limit the spoilage reactions. Advantages of the freezing method. Now these when we preserve the food product by the freezing method, okay, so in this method we are not involving any type of the heat or any type of something which can apply the heat to reduce that moisture. So here the sensory quality of the food product are much better as compared to the another food preservation method, that is your canning and drying. And the second is that when we do our food preservation by the freezing method, then there is a minimal loss of the nutrients take place, and we have a longer shelf life with the proper storage and suitable for wide variety of the food product. Okay, when we preserve the food product in by a freezing method, like suppose that if you preserve it by that chicken with the freezing method, then we all know that if you keep that chicken at room temperature, then their shelf life is only for 2 hours. And if you keep it at refrigerated temperature minus 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, then their shelf life is around 48 hours. But if you keep the chicken at minus 20 minus 18 to minus 22 degrees Celsius, in that time the shelf life of that chicken is become around 6 months, which is very different from 48 hours to that 6 month. Okay, and it can also suitable for that wide variety of the food products. Limitation of the freezing. So it required a consistent cold chain. If this chain is break, then you cannot preserve the food product by a freezing method. You can maintain this chain even during the transportation. If you have to transport the food product by food, if you transfer the food product which are preserved by this freezing method, so you have to transfer it into that cold chain also. Sometime freezer burn occur. This freezer burn occur and their texture changes. Okay, so this is very that is very important limitation of the freezing. That is your freeze burn. Not all the food can be freeze. Like if the fruit which contain a high water content, that cannot be freeze by this method. Principle of the freezing method. So it can be based upon the principle that we can remove the heat from the food. Okay, when it reaches the zero temperature. Suppose that this is your food product. Now we are not going to give any heat to them. But what we have to do, we have to remove the heat. And we remove the heat and it can reach a sub-zero temperature. Now latent heat of crystallization must be removed and freezing affect the ice crystal size and their quality. Rate of freezing affect the ice crystal size and their quality of the food products. Stages of the freezing process. So it can be based upon the three stages, that is your cooling stage, phase change and temperature stage. So the first one is your cooling stage, in which in this stage we kept our food at at freezing point, and at that time the food only cooled. When our food reaches to the freezing point, food become cool. But when a phase change stage occur, in that stage the water present into the food product changes into the ice. Okay, you can suppose the example of water. When you keep that water at low temperature, like around 0 degrees Celsius, this is your freezing point for the water. Now when it reaches to that point, it become what? It become cool. But when a time passes, when the phase change stage occur, this water is converted into the ice. Okay, this is your solid. Sorry, this is your liquid stage, and this is your solid state. So when the formation of the ice take place, that stage is known as a phase change stage. Next is your tempering stage, in which the food reaches to the final storage temperature. Okay, that is below the freezing point. Next, type of the freezing method. So you can freeze a food product by three method, that is your slow freezing, quick freezing and cryogenic freezing. In slow freezing, you can use a still air, which is which can freeze the food product, and home freezer. This is also the example of the slow freezing method. Okay, means that simply when we keep our food product like in our home in a freezer condition, then at that type of method is known as a slow freezing. Now next is your quick freezing. Quick freezing, that I already told you what we have to do. We decrease or we lowering the temperature quickly. Either by blast freezing method or either by a plate freezing method. Next is your cryogenic freezing. In cryogenic freezing, we use the liquid nitrogen or carbon dioxide for the freezing. This method is much better than the other type of the methods. Slow freezing. So slow freezing can take place as several hours to freeze. Like when we keep our food product in a home, then it can take us several hours to froze, due to which a large ice crystal are formed. Because the freezing time is very slow. Okay, now that slow time can become a reason of the formation of the large ice crystal, and due to which the cell are damaged, and it is used mainly for the less sensitive food or small scale operation. In quick freezing, what we have to do, we rapidly freezing at minus 30 degrees Celsius or below. A small ice crystal is preserved, as compared to the slow freezing condition, in which the larger ice crystal are formed. But when we do a quick freezing, so in quick freezing, that small ice crystal are formed, which maintain the texture of the food product, and it is commonly used in a commercially frozen foods. Cryogenic freezing. In cryogenic freezing, we use a liquid nitrogen or carbon dioxide whose temperature is around minus 196 degrees Celsius. Okay, sometimes we also use snow for that process. This is also known as a ultra fast freezing method in which a minimal ice damage when we preserve the food product by a cryogenic freezing, so it give a minimal ice damage and it is very ideal for the high value food product or the delicate food product like your seafoods and berries. You can preserve these food product by a cryogenic freezing method. Equipment used in freezing, like you can use a blast freezer, plate freezer, tunnel, fluidized bed freezer and spiral freezer. They are the equipment which we use. Pre-treatment before freezing. Okay, now suppose that if you have to preserve a food product, so you can uh, pre-treatment can be applied so that your freezing can become more suitable. Like you can blanch the food product. Okay, suppose that if you have to preserve the vegetables by freezing method, now what you have to do, you have to blanch that food product. Okay, in blanching is done for the inactivation of the enzymes present into the food product. Okay, this is the first method. When enzymes are inactivated, then it can easily be freeze and have a longer shelf life. Next is your packaging in moisture or vapor proof material, or portioning, cleaning and removing the air. So these are the pre-treatment methods. Packaging requirement for our frozen food products. So um, you can get the packaging material like which have low moisture vapor transmission, resistant to the brittleness at low temperature, durable seal so that it can prevent the freezer burn, clear labeling for the consumer, which is very important. Effort on microorganisms. See, that I already told you, it cannot kill the microorganisms, but their growth is stopped. It cannot increase their number, but it remain in your food product. That's why it is said that if you thaw that frozen food product, so immediately you can consume it, and after that you cannot be freeze it again. Here you can see that it is clearly written that freezing does not kill all the microbes, but it can stop the growth of that microorganism. It cannot be reproduced. You can say that it go under the sleeping condition. Spoilage bacteria and molds become the dormant. Thawing can reactivate the microorganisms. Food safety is essential. When you are performing the thawing, you cannot perform it under the room temperature. It is not acceptable. You can see that in many hotels and the restaurant, they thaw their food product under the room temperature. Like they keep the like especially the non-veg food products, keep in under the store water, and that water are kept at room temperature. It is not good at the point of the food safety. You have to thaw that food product by keeping that food product at the temperature range between 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. Like in chicken or mutton, it can thaw at this 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, and the time required 48 hours. Effect on enzymatic activity. Enzymes are slowed down but not fully inactivated. The enzymatic reaction are slowed down, but you cannot say that it is fully inactivated. Blanching recommended for the vegetable. If you preserve the food, that vegetable by freezing method, so you have to blanch it. It can prevent the color flavor loss during the frozen storage. If you do that blanching to the vegetable, then it can prevent their color and flavor when if it is lost during that frozen stage. Freezing and food quality. So it maintain the nutritional value for a month. Texture changes if improperly frozen. Okay, texture is only change when it is improper. Okay, otherwise the texture cannot be changed. Proper handling during the thawing crucial. Nutritional aspect of the food, sorry, aspects of the freezing. So here the minimum loss of the vitamins take place, especially the water soluble vitamins. Now there is a question for you. You can write down in a comment box that what is vitamin, which are the vitamins which are water soluble. Some oxidation may occur if the packaging is poor. Okay, if you cannot pack the food product in a proper way by in a when you apply a freezing method, then maybe some oxidation occur. Retention are totally depend upon the pre-freeze treatment and storage conditions. Storage condition for frozen food product, that is minus 18 degrees Celsius or lower, recommended for a longer term. It also minimizes the temperature fluctuation. FIFO, that is first in and first out stock rotation system will be applied. Means that if some area have lots of the frozen food products, so you can apply the FIFO. FIFO can be applied in every stored food product. So especially in case of the frozen food product, you can apply that FIFO, that first in first out. Means that the first which come, it should be first out. Okay, so minus 18 degrees Celsius or lower, recommended for the longer shelf life, and minimizes the temperature fluctuation and FIFO. Now next, shelf life of the frozen food products. So the shelf life of the vegetables is around 8 to 12 months. Meats is around 6 to 12 months. Fish is around 3 to 6 months, and it is varied by product and their storage temperature, but it is a common way of this. Freeze burn and how it can be prevented. So freeze burn is simply caused by when the sublimation of the ice take place from the food food surface, and it leads to the dryness, discolored spots, and off flavor. It is caused by that sublimation of the ice from that food surfaces. It can prevent when we keep the food product at airtight packaging and also keep that food product at a stable temperature. Okay, stable temperature means that suppose that if you keep that food product at like changing a temperature, like sometime it is minus 18, then it come to the minus 11, then undergo to the minus 20, then minus 10. So you have to keep your food product at a stable temperature so that this freezer burn or freeze burn cannot be occur. Thawing practices. Thawing should be done at refrigerated condition, microwave, or under a cold water. This method you cannot be used like in case of that non-veg food product. So okay, in that case you have to thaw it under that refrigerated condition. But in this cold water condition, you can use it like your peas and vegetables and your like fruits. Avoid the thawing at room temperature because it give up bacterial contamination. Some food can be cooked from frozen directly. So there are lots of the food product which can be cooked directly from a frozen condition. Industrial freezing application like meat and poultry industry, fish and seafood processing, fruits and vegetable bakery products, ready to eat meals and desserts. Freezing versus other preservation method. Like if we compare the freezing with the canning, then obviously this freezing can be better because it give up better nutrient retention. If we compare the freezing with the drying, then obviously it give up better texture and flavor retention. Energy intensive but higher consumer acceptability. Quality control in frozen food, like it monitor the core temperature, regular inspection for the packaging integrity, microbiological testing, HACCP system for that frozen food products. Future trends in freezing technology, like it involve a individually quick frozen IQF technology, high pressure assistant freezing, energy efficient freezers, smart packaging with time temperature indicators. Summary: freezing is a highly effective for effective preservation method. It retain a sensory and nutritional quality. It required a proper pre-treatment, packaging and storage, and it is very essential for the modern supply chain. References and acknowledgement like Codex Alimentary Guidelines on Frozen Food Product, USD FSSAI references on the freezing standard, research papers, then acknowledgement to your institution and team. So this is all about the freezing preservation of the food product by the freezing method. I hope you will understand, but if you have any query related to this, you are freely to ask me in a comment box, or for a further detail you can follow the ITLS Academy on different platform, that is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp and LinkedIn, and subscribe our channel ITLS Academy on YouTube and get our app from a Google Play. You can also ask your query to the helpline number that are already mentioned in your slide, that is 7080833450, and visit our website, that is www.itlsacademy.com. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe our channel.